You can't really overstate the importance of Towns' offensive play in the fourth quarter. He had a run where he hit 2 threes and a fall-away jumper over Jalen Duren. His final bucket in that sequence gave the Knicks a 1-point lead with 47 seconds to play. Just a monumental offensive sequence from Towns, one of the best offensive centers in the league. Other side of the ball, you had Anunoby, you had Bridges defending Cade Cunningham again all game here, and Cunningham had a triple-double, but he also had 7 turnovers and was 2 for 7 in that pivotal fourth quarter. And Bridges in particular, he was not shooting the ball well at all first 3 quarters. I think he had 1 field goal and 12 misses first 3 quarters, but then he stuck with it. Early fourth quarter, he hit 2 really big threes that got the Knicks going. They were down 10 going into that quarter. They probably don't get to where they got to at the end of this game without those Bridges threes and without his defense. So the 3 big acquisitions, Karl Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, coming up very big for the Knicks. Now they have a commanding 3-1 lead going back to New York.
For more on the Knicks, we welcome in John Jastrzemski and Chris Lopresti. Josh Hart mentioned the 2-minute report. You didn't have to wait for that, as crew chief David Guthrie told pool reporters that officials should have called a foul on Hart. So, JJ, did the Knicks get a gift?
They got a gift, but you have to understand the context of the game. Detroit and the New York Knicks were basically playing 80s and 90s style of basketball for 3.5 quarters. You should not be stunned that on the final play of the game, the referees decided to swallow their whistle. And if you're Detroit, I don't want to hear about the call, because you had a double-digit fourth-quarter lead, and the best player on your team had a point-blank shot to go and win the game. Everybody's been saying, hey, Cade Cunningham is the best player in the series. Go hit the shot. You're 0 for 2. If you're Detroit, hey, tough. Sorry. Yep,
that is definitely a tough way to lose. All right, Chris, what did we learn, though, about this Knick team after they found a way to win this game?
Well, I think we're seeing some of the toughness, the grit, and the resolve that we loved about last year's team, and we had questions about whether this group this year, as currently constructed, would have some of that. And look, you can say that it's a first-round series. The Knicks are supposed to win. Detroit, from a talent and an experience standpoint, is probably the inferior team, but they've played a very physical series, as we expected, and I think the Knicks have certainly shown up after Game 2. I mean, look, you go on the road, you win both games in Detroit, Games 3 and 4, you answer the bell there. So, I mean, up and down the lineup, yes, there's been hairy moments. Looked like it was getting away from them in the third quarter there, but the bounce-back ability and certainly the ability of their big players to come up with big shots down the stretch. As far as J.B. Bickerstaff saying some guys get to be physical, most of your team's been physical.
You watched the 4 quarters of that game?
So look,
I mean, my goodness.
You say what you want about the last play, that's fine, but let's not make it out like the Knicks are getting away with pushing around his team. That's not the case.
He also went on to say something to the extent of, well, we'll let the other people whine about it. We're not going to whine about it. I go, you are literally whining about it right now. Okay, but that's coaching in the playoffs for the NBA. All right, the Knicks were down 4 with 1:52 left. Karl-Anthony Towns scored the next 5 points for New York, while the Pistons didn't score at all. And afterwards, Towns was asked about coming up clutch.
All I got to say is, I learned a lot from JB. He has the award for a reason, so I'm just trying to do my best Jalen Brunson impression. I'm just happy tonight it looked good. So shout out to JB.
Towns scored 8 in the fourth. Brunson scored 15. I'll use JJ Syracuse math to add that up to 23. The Pistons as a team had 22. So, Chris, what has Towns shown us since taking so much criticism after Game 2?
Well, I mean, look, there were questions about this guy. Could he perform in the big moment in the playoffs, in the big stage in New York for the Knicks? And Game 2 was disappointing. He basically wasn't involved at all. So for him to bounce back again on the road and be as pivotal as he was in these 2 ball games, certainly the way in which he scored the basketball in game number 3, and I'm going to use the word breathtaking were some of those shots down the stretch, the fadeaway on the baseline, the 3 ball he threw up. I know it was late in the shot clock, but I'm thinking, I kind of cringed as that shot went up. Look, his ability to shoot as deep as he does at that size, and I think he's also at times been able to match the physicality, even from a gamesmanship standpoint. Tobias Harris trying to get under his skin, and he didn't back down. He stood his ground, and he didn't cower, but he didn't cross the line and lose his composure. So I like that the emotion is showing. He's fired up, but he's doing it in a positive way, and it served the Knicks well in these 2 road games, and it's a big reason why they're up 3-1.
There were a lot of questions about the toughness of Karl-Anthony Towns going into game number 3, why he only had 3 or 4 touches at the end of Game 2. He was as aggressive and as assertive as you could hope for in these 2 games. He was very efficient in Game 3. He wasn't in Game 4, but I loved his attitude because he kept attacking the rim. He kept forcing the issue because he is that talented from an offensive perspective. And still, those 2 shots at the end of the game, I mean, those are off the charts. There are very few guys in the NBA who are able to go and do that. I also think you got to look at Jalen Brunson. No, he comes back from the injury. The Knicks are down. They need somebody to will them home on a night where OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges gave you very little offensively. And Brunson, one-on-one, the Pistons had no answer. That's what you dreamed of, Eamon, when the Knicks made that Karl-Anthony Towns trade, that Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns in playoff games can do things that not a whole lot of guys in the NBA can do. They brought you home.
That's definitely what you were thinking about after they won that game. But in the third, when they were down by 11, you're thinking, they lose this game, they lose this series, everyone's going to blame Tibbs because there's no adjustments being made.
Fair, but guess what? You need big players come postseason time. Sometimes to bail out the head coach, sometimes to bail out the role players who don't necessarily play as well on the road, and that's what the big players did.